So you're standing in your kitchen. Your phone is face down on the counter. But you can already feel the yes forming in your throat before you even read the message. Somebody needs you again. The part of you that's exhausted, the part that hasn't had a quiet weekend in months, that part of you just doesn't get a vote. You already know the yes from you is gonna be automatic. And then 10 minutes later, you're furious, not at them, but at yourself. Because you did it again. You put their needs above your own. So your people pleasing isn't kindness. It's not generosity. It's not a bad habit you can fix by reading another article on learning how to say no. Your people pleasing goes deeper. It's something I had to confront in myself, and this is going to land kind of hard for you. What it actually is a covert God complex. Now again, I know that lands hard. So I want you to stay with me because you're not trying to play God, but you got trained to try and play God. And once you see the engine that's underneath this, the training, the emotional blueprint training that got placed into you, you're finally going to understand why every boundary book on your shelf didn't work. So here's how all of this got installed in you. When you were a child, somebody at the dinner table was emotionally dysregulated. Maybe they were filled with rage or quiet and shut down or empty and collapsed or maybe just unavailable. And you, the brilliant child that you were at the time, you scanned that dinner table and you figured something out really brilliantly before you even had words for it. Like you were probably in your high chair and you saw it. You figured out that if you stayed small, if you stayed useful and easy and you anticipated their mood and soothed their pain, then maybe you could control the emotional temperature of the house. That's the moment your less than perfect parents created the covert God complex inside of you. It wasn't by intent, and most times parents are just stressed out. There's a small percentage of parents that actively are hurtful to their children, but in most cases, we just don't teach emotional regulation, and they did the best they could, and they couldn't regulate themselves, and they just passed that job on to you. And so in these cases, your parents trained you to be responsible for their adult emotions. So you developed a quiet, devastating belief that you're responsible for how everyone around you feels, and that you're also the only one who can fix it. Because do you see what's happening to a child in that moment? They're powerless. They're being ignored, neglected, abandoned. Their parents' emotions can't be regulated, and therefore who's there to take care of them? So they're completely powerless. Well, what's the best way to get their power back? To create this God complex, the people pleaser, the one who will take care of everyone but themselves, because that's the power that got placed inside your tiny little body with the early nervous system, and a nervous system just not equipped to hold their emotions. So this God complex got developed unconsciously. It happened again in my own house. The proof of it was, as my dad was dying, I remember sitting on the couch, and he just turned to me and he said, "You know, Kenny, of all the kids, you were the easiest." I just feel the weight of the sentence. He thought he was complimenting me. He didn't see it wasn't a compliment. What he meant, what he didn't know is I was the child in the high chair. I was the child at the dinner table. I learned, just become invisible. So easy meant I built an entire identity around making sure my needs and wants didn't matter. And my job was to take care of my parents' emotional needs. So another way of looking at this is, think of a puppy circling the dinner table, starving for connection while the adults just keep dropping scraps of unwanted emotional food on the floor. It's their criticism, their shame, their unprocessed pain. And what's a puppy going to do? They're going to eat it. Because attention of any kind beats having no attention. Well, that puppy is you. And that was your shame. That's where you developed your shame-based survival persona. And decades later, you're still circling the table, eating everyone's unwanted emotions and calling it love, calling it kindness, calling it be the one who cares. Well, that's actually what's called the worst day cycle, which consists of trauma, fear, shame, and denial. And the trauma was your being made responsible for emotions that you didn't create, which kicks in the fear. It becomes the constant scanning, the bracing, the watching everyone's face, listening to their tone, their eye movement, all of it. And the shame that follows is the conclusion that your needs are dangerous. And your no would cost you their love and their attention. And so to survive the overwhelming nature of the trauma, fear, and shame, you dropped into denial. And that's the story you tell yourself today, that you're just a giving person, that this doesn't bug you and you don't mind. Well, that denial is what keeps this whole cycle spinning inside. And so it lives inside your survival persona, the version of you that you built to take care of everyone else's comfort and make sure they were okay. It's what leads someone to become what's called a disempowered codependent. And sometimes the disempowered codependent can oscillate between being that wounded child who's collapsed and quiet and has absolutely no control, or then trying to people please and gain covert God complex power by, if I'm the best one, if I'm the nicest one, if I do the most, somebody's going to notice me. I'll extract power, but I'm doing it from this disempowered place because I'm exhausted. I don't have the time or energy to take care of you, but if I don't, then I get nothing. And so I'll try and control it by being the nice one, and maybe you'll drop a scrap of attention and emotional affection towards me. I'll extract it from you just the way it was extracted from me. Now, here's the part nobody kind of tells you. Saying yes when you want to say no is not love. It's actually one of the most manipulative, destructive things a human being can do to anybody else. Like, it drives me nuts, all these romantic movies, and it's all about, oh, I'll give my life up for you. No, you won't, because you're going to club somebody over the head when you give yourself away and you give too much, when you give beyond your abilities. So every unmet yes comes with an invisible invoice. And you start keeping score, and you resent the people that you said yes to. And then you explode at your spouse over the dishes when the dishes aren't even the issue. The issue is that you've been trading your life away in tiny little pieces, and you've been calling it kindness. And then you yell at the people you've been giving to, which proves that the giving was never free. It came with an expectation of recognition. It was a transaction. It was a control move. You were trying to earn safety and approval and love. And your yes was the currency. So this is also why everything you've tried has failed. None of it sticks because none of it touched that 4-year-old inside of you sitting at the dinner table who still believes that if you say no, it equals abandonment. Well, you can't script your way out of a nervous system that's running an old emotional blueprint. You have to rewire the blueprint first. So let me give you my process for learning how to actually say no authentically and learn when and how to say yes, so that when the request comes in, you know exactly what to do. Well, the first step in this process is you're going to learn my first magic phrase. And so when you look at that text, or you get the phone call, or at the family gathering, a request is made of you, your first response isn't yes or no. It's simply, let me think about it, and I'll get back to you. Now, do you see why it's magic? It's magic because you don't have to say yes or no, and you don't have to explain yourself like a child, and it buys you time. You get to detach from that initial onslaught of fear and the need to perform. And they can't argue it. Well, what do you mean you got to think about it? That's a great question. Let me think about that and I'll get back to you. Do you see? You never have to drop back down into the child and explain why you're saying yes or why you're saying no. You get to stay the adult. Now, once you've bought that time with magic phrase number 1, you go inward with my emotional authenticity method. And ask yourself, what am I feeling? Where do I feel this in my body? And what's my earliest memory of having the exact same feeling? Because this is where you learn the original emotional blueprint, where you develop the God complex and realize the only way I'm going to fit into this family system is if I become invisible and have no needs and wants. So the moment you see the panic and feel the panic when someone asks you for something, it's not actually about the request in the moment. It's the 4-year-old inside of you who learned that saying no is dangerous. So by doing this, you bring the adult back online before you even open your mouth and you see, oh my God, I want to say yes to this because I learned it sitting at the kitchen table. I don't have to be that child anymore. And for the first time, you get to consider your own needs and wants. Maybe you need to just rest or spend more time with your kids or focus your time on your marriage or your health or anything else. For the first time, you get to separate your responsibility and your needs from theirs. And their feelings about your saying no or your taking time, that's their responsibility. It's no longer yours. So their reaction is about their blueprint. It's not your truth. Now, this is the step by doing this. This is the step where that covert God complex finally gets broken. It exhales because you are not in charge of how they feel. You never were. You never had that power. None of us ever has the power to change the way another person feels. If you've watched any of my content, you know every single emotional reaction is a learned construct from childhood. And you learned specific emotional definitions. So you think of it. You can have a discussion with somebody. Talk about the same topic. One is excited by it. The other one is sad. That's proof that you both learned different emotional definitions in your childhood for the exact same event. And therefore, you are never making anybody think, feel, believe, or do anything. It's a lie. This whole trigger and cancel culture of, oh my God, you're making me feel. No, you don't. Every person makes themselves feel because their brain reruns the emotional blueprint pattern from childhood. And they place that on you. All right? Well, that was the job you had as a child. It was handed to you. But you're no longer the child. And those are emotions and responsibilities that you should never have to carry for anybody. Well, now that you see this truth and you know that your emotional reaction is about the past and you get to decide what your future is going to be and how you want, what emotional definition you want to place on things, you're going to move to 3 diagnostic questions, which will tell you whether you should say yes or whether you should say no. And these are the 3 questions. Number 1, you ask yourself, if I do this for them, am I going to keep score? Think of it. Don't we all keep score of what we've done for others? That lets you know, oh my God, I'm jumping into the covert God complex. I want to get control and power. I expect something from this. Number 2, if I do this for them, will I ever throw it in their face? How many times have you heard somebody, well, I didn't want to go shopping with you and I went. Why won't you do this for me? That's how most relationships break up, is both go, well, I did this for you and you won't do this. Well, I did this and you won't do this. And so both learned a covert God complex and how to manipulate and control the other person with their yes. Well, you're going to learn to break that by asking that question. Question number 3. If I do this, will I eventually end up resenting them for it? So do you see, all three of those are basically the same question, just a little bit different, because I've learned in working with my clients, those are all different ways we create that. The God complex got created in us, and we use our yes or our no for power. So if you ask yourself those three questions and you think you'll do any one of them, then your answer has to be no. If you say yes, you are actively choosing to try and manipulate and control and extract something from somebody from a covert God complex place. It is not genuine. It is not kindness. It is not loving. That is not truth. The truth is, you're running the emotional blueprint that was placed into you that told you the only way you're going to get love, care, attention, affection, and not be abandoned is if you manipulate and control other people from the disempowered codependent position. You're just running an old blueprint. Now, if you think that's going to happen, then you have to move into the next magic phrase. Magic phrase number 2. And this is where you don't say no to a person. Because how do we feel when somebody says no? We all feel like the child, like I was even bad and wrong for asking. Because remember, what was the emotional definition we learned in childhood when we hear no? I'm a bad kid. And so we just replay that. And so we never tell somebody no. Instead, we say, you know, I've thought about it, and it just doesn't work for me. Do you notice that you never say the word no to them, and you never talk about them or their request? And the reason it's magic is because no matter what they come back with, you can just repeat either magic phrase number 1 or magic phrase number 2. So what do you mean it doesn't work for you? You know, let me think about that and I'll get back to you. Well, what are you going to think about? You know, let me think about that and I'll get back to you. Well, why aren't you going to do it? Well, it just doesn't work for me. Well, what part of it doesn't work for you? You know, it just doesn't work for me. Why are you being so weird and crazy? You know, that's a great question. I do feel crazy sometimes. Let me think about that and I'll get back to you. Do you see? You never have to drop into the child role and prove yourself to them. You're the adult. You get to have your own feelings and you sit back and watch them have their own. You're not in control of it. You are not God. They're obviously having a reaction to their powerlessness. Well, only they can fix that. It's no longer your responsibility. So now I want you to go back and picture the scenario I started this video with, where I described you sitting there with the phone. Well, the old you would read that message, say yes in 3 seconds, and then spend 3 weeks resenting them, keeping score in your head, wanting to bring it up in the future. Well, the new you takes a breath and sends them the simple magic phrase, let me think about it, and I'll get back to you. 20 minutes later, after running through the process I just gave you, you just text back, you know, I've thought about it. It just doesn't work for me. And do you notice, even in the way I'm saying it, do you see what you're going to feel? There's no power in it. You just feel quiet. You feel like an adult. For the first time in your life, you're free. You're not responsible for their reaction. You don't feel guilt or shame, or you don't feel the compulsion of, oh my God, I got to make their life better. You just realize, yeah, just doesn't work for me. And if they blow up, you can just look at it and go, oh, they're playing their emotional blueprint. Yeah, but I'm not God. I can't fix that for them. Maybe one day they'll decide to watch videos, watch Kenny's stuff, and figure out that their reaction is about them, and it's not my job to fix that. Now, before I go, I just want to make sure that you know that if your parents place this in you, most likely they're not bad people. They're just perfectly imperfect. And neither of you are really to blame, and neither of you are broken. Both of you just did the best you could with the information you had at the time. But now, after watching this video, you know more. And so you can choose to equip yourself with these tools so you can do more. So don't forget, you were just programmed. But the programs that were placed into both of you can be rewritten. So I hope this helped you, and I'll see you in the next video.